Let's take a couple of moments and we're going to walk through the subwoofer settings and subwoofer output settings on Pioneer's DEH-X6900BT. Even though your particular in-dash receiver may or may not have a CD slot across the top like this one, the on-screen and button operation is identical for the following Pioneer models: MVH-X580BS, DEH-X6800BS, DEH-X6900BT, DEH-X7800BHS, DEH-X8800BHS. So right now this system is set up in the standard mode, and there's a setting that we should look at in the standard mode before we get started with the subwoofer output. To do that, I'm going to press and hold the source key for a couple of seconds. That'll switch the head unit off. And now press in on the volume control, and I want to go to my initial menu. Under initial, I'll press enter here, and here I can see my rear speaker output. This is the rear speaker output, not the rear RCA output, but the rear speaker output. Right now it is set to full range output. If I press in on the volume control, I can switch that rear speaker output to its subwoofer output. And the system is capable of operating a small subwoofer on its rear speaker outputs crossed over. So for right now, we are going to switch that back, the rear speaker outputs back to full range, and I'm going to press the source button to get out to any source, doesn't matter which one. And we're going to touch in on the volume control and roll along here until we get to the audio menu. There's the audio menu, and we'll press enter. And now I want to roll along here until I get to my subwoofer output. So right now my subwoofer is switched on. If I press in on the volume control, I can also switch the subwoofer output off. Now if I do that and I roll over to the next setting, I go directly to speaker level. Let me go back now. Back to subwoofer, it says off. Let's switch it on. And now when we roll over to the next setting, we see our subwoofer phase. Subwoofer phase is reverse right now. If I press in, it's a normal phase. Be sure to check both of these in your vehicle. One might sound significantly better than the other. So for right now, we'll leave our subwoofer set to its normal phase, and we'll roll over to the next setting, which is our speaker level. And we have the subwoofer output setting is in here. So we will press enter here and roll along until we find our subwoofer output. There's subwoofer set to 0. This is the speaker level output where we have an independent volume control for each speaker in the system, including the sub. And here we can boost or cut the subwoofer output. Now for best audio quality, be sure to keep this at 0 or lower, and that way you can turn up your master volume control without fear of distortion. When you've made an adjustment here, we'll go back and we'll roll over to the next setting, which is our crossover settings, and here we can adjust the crossover and slope for the sub output. We'll press enter here. Here's front, rear, and the subwoofer crossover. We'll press enter to get in there. Here's a low pass filter. If we roll back, we can switch the low pass filter off. We can switch the low pass filter on here, and we'll press in on the volume control to choose a crossover point for that low pass filter. Our choices are 50, 63, 80, 100, 125, 160, and 200 hertz. So for right now, I'm going to choose a 63 hertz crossover point for my subwoofer, and I'll press enter, and now I can choose a slope for the subwoofer. The crossover slope, 6 dB per octave, 12, 18, or 24. So for right now, I'm going to leave a 63 hertz crossover with a 24 dB per octave slope. Let's go back, and we'll roll over to the next setting here, which is our bass boost output. Press enter here, and here we can add a little more bottom into the system if we want, or roll it back down to 0. When you're done making your adjustments to your subwoofer settings, you can press the band button here to escape.